What do you not miss about high school? God, I hated high school. Starting at 7 AM. Feeling trapped in a room doing shit of no interest. Dealing with 30 other kids who didn't give a shit but were assholes about it. Day in and day out. The lame politics and social warfare. But hey. Now I am 31 and work in an office. Where I show up at 7 AM doing shit of no interest. Surrounded by, oh crap. Having to sit next to your crush for the rest of the year after she turns you down for a date. The pointless busy work. High school wasn't bad at all. But 3-4 hours of pointless ducking homework was. Being tired during classes. Homework. Tests. Fear of making a fool out of myself. Shitty lunch food. Lockers too far from classrooms. Teachers either cared way too much or not at all, no in between. They tread you like a piece of cattle and don't even pay you. My high school worked on a 6-day week despite that we only went MF. So we would have to figure out what day it was. Plus you've got 9 classes every day and after school sheet. Every teacher yells at you about different sheets, so it's like having 9 bosses. Duck that. Dunno why everyone remembers high school as this idyllic time. Being in high school. Needing permission to go to the bathroom. I like soda, leave me alone. The hours. People will tell you going to class from 11 to 4 at college doesn't change anything. They are liars. Edit, added college. I don't miss the social competitiveness between everyone. I always felt the need to get involved in a lot of activities and clubs and events and sports just to keep up with some of the social circles. It got exhausting after a while. Daily mandatory pen 15 inspection in the principal's office. Pretty much everything. I didn't have a bad experience in high school or anything, but being a teenager sucks. Having to live under your parents' rules. Having to be in class all day. Pointless homework. Dumbest drama. I don't want to remember any of that crap. Agreed. No freedoms. No monies. No reward. Just go to class. Do your activities. Go home. And do homework. I drove an hour to school and lived the furthest away. Means low chance of hanging out with anyone. All my friends lived on the other side of school, and any activities mean getting home after 5. Glad that shit's over and done with. Punishment for finding class easy. I'm from a country with a substandard education system. And often found classes, especially maths and physics, way too easy. Used to finish the homework in class in 10 minutes and then be bored. When I attempted to fill the downtime by doing something else, I was reprimanded for not paying attention. I was even given detention for programming a media player in Comp C class during a lesson on how switch statements worked. Apparently the right thing to do was to sit and stare. Bored out of my mind. Duck that so much. Eater, just to qualify how easy this was. We did math in 8th grade that I remembered from having done it in 4th grade in the US. Edit, fixed a typo. Waking up at the crack of dawn, then being too tired to do anything after school gets out. It still blows my mind I did marching band. Wake up at 6:45 AM. Go to school from 8:30 AM to 3:30 PM. Band practice from 6:30 PM to 9:30 PM. Get home. Do homework, lol no, and go to bed hopefully around 11 PM. More like midnight. Then rinse and repeat. That was twice a week. Mondays were practice right after school from 4 o'clock to 6:30. Fridays were football games. Saturdays were competitions or practices. The intense anxiety produced from everyone telling you how ducking important good grades and formal education are. If you don't focus now and take it seriously, your life will be shit. I agree that a bit of a structured education is important. But I feel like scaring kids into thinking they will be deadbeats if they don't get straight A's and go to university can be problematic in the long run. Had I not had that kind of pressure on my shoulders, I think I would have figured out more about myself and what I wanted much more quickly. Riding the bus. It was usually late and crowded. How fake everyone was. It feels like no one was actually themselves in high school. Seeing these people now. Some of them are kinda cool when they're not putting on an act to fit into some cliche. This is very true. Post high school, I've become friends with a bunch of people I would have never imagined being associated with. All because we put our differences aside and realized we are human beings. Having to ask to go to the bathroom. And being told no. Basically a concentration camp with Fingerdiking. The bullying. It took me close to a decade to get over the conditioning that someone complimenting me isn't being sincere and is about to use my reaction to insult me. Homework. Spend 8 hours at school and immediately have to go home and spend another 3 hours doing homework. I was more busy than my current full-time job. Yeah, I've noticed this about school. Yes. Technically adults have taxes and all that. But on the most general of days where an adult might not have to do any chores and is done with taxes or other technicalities, students then get more work. Which seems kind of ridiculous, since they should be having fun and doing extracurricular activities instead. Honestly, the constant feeling of insecurity. Every little thing was a big deal. The zit on my nose. The jealousy due to my crush talking to pretty girl A. That zit on my nose. My off-colored uniform compared to perfect uniform of pretty girl A, and last but not least, that freaking zit on my nose which gave me nightmare throughout the week. Thanks high school. Never again. Busy work. That's for school in general. I had zero attention span and too hard-headed to do bullshit work I already knew how to do. I wouldn't do most of the classwork and never homework, but I'd make A's on all of my tests. That's about it though. School was fun. Anxiety of getting up off those plastic seats and fear you leave a wet mark due to your swamp and plastic chair not mixing. Being the only senior in a class of freshmen thanks to the school screwing up my schedule. The only upside is that I for once had a teacher that treated me like an adult and he sympathized with my situation. He ended being one of my favorites because of it. Sweating. I remember sweating a lot during high school. I wore 2 different kinds of antiperspirants and still sweated through all shirts. Basically stopped when I left high school. I visited once a few years later. And immediately after stepping foot in the halls. Sweated right through my shirt. I think the place might have been literally toxic. In addition to what everyone else said. Being subject to my parents' whims. I kinda have my weekend all planned. With time to catch up on my sleep and do my chores and do my homework and band practice and my job and a particular TV show I wanted to watch. And then my parents would randomly announce we're going to Niagara Falls tomorrow. We have to be out the door by 9. Just because they wanted to. Or they'd read some parenting article and arbitrarily change the rules based on it. Without regard for what my actual needs as an actual person are. Man, I could go on for hours about what I don't miss. But I will condense it down. On the first day of school. Those girls that would scream and freak out, it's been so long since I've seen you. You're not fooling anyone. We saw you two spend the entire summer together on Facebook. That one dude who carried a guitar everywhere and thinks he is the new Joe Satriani. But in all reality he can only play one crappy Nirvana song. The sophomores. Juniors and seniors who just got their driver's license and think they are hot shit all of a sudden. The constant busy work. Those assholes who would stop in the middle of the hallway and plug it all up to hell. Especially when you are running late to class. Upperclassmen who constantly pick on the underclassmen. Look. The freshman hunt is fun on the first day. But after that you're just an asshole. Edgy teenager syndrome. Full stop. Having to stay there the whole damn day. Getting to college was a dream. Between classes I can go eat. Take a nap. Get a haircut. etc. It's awesome. Waking up so early. That 6 AM wake up bullshit. I'm not and never will be a before the sun kind of guy. Even without the fact that I have never been able to get to sleep before midnight. That one teacher who kept telling students in-depth details about her fertility treatments instead of teaching. Or the single 20-something teacher that continued to reiterate she was a single 20-something teacher. I don't miss anything about high school. I was one of the nobodies, not quite attractive enough to be considered as girlfriend material. Not into partying. Quiet enough to basically be invisible most of the time. Mediocre at sports. And not quite competitive enough to be in the top 10 for GPA. I was 13th. I definitely peaked way after high school. I was able to break away from my family a bit and discover who I was as an individual instead of always being associated with my parents' sister grandparents due to small town life. Life is way better as an adult than it was when I was a teenager. I have been to exactly 0 high school reunions for my class. Doesn't matter. I haven't gone to this class for the whole year or what's my locker combination nightmares at least once a week. The shitty pot. The food. The only good things at my school were the french fries and slush puppies. The gossip. But then I joined the military and I'm not sure it ever goes away. Having friends that didn't give a duck about me and used me. Teachers who were actual bullies who had serious authority complexes. Having to bring my lunch every day unless I wanted to get food poisoning. Having to become a bulldozer just to get to class on time because a ducking sea of idiots don't know how to walk properly. And, I'm from the US. Mandatory pay class for 4 ducking years. If you didn't change and participate, you would fail and have to take 2 pay classes in 1 semester. A group of hip hop fans who fancied themselves a gang who ran the school. In an affluent suburb. Getting beaten with a chair by some homophobic asshole. The girl drama that happened every day. Girl crying because I bought her an expensive gift for her birthday. She cried and was mad because she can't gift a similar item back. I never asked for something in return. The dickheads who used to bully me. The teachers who didn't believe me and the head teacher who actually accused me of making up stories. Turns out the guy who bullied me was loaded and his dad was best mates with the teachers. It finally worked out when I got him to start throwing stones at me when I knew the teachers were round the corner. Got a rock to the head as the teachers were looking at me and they came round the corner to see the guy holding another stone. My dad got him arrested and his dad cut him off completely. People who were your friend because of proximity and not because you had things in common. It was such a waste of time. We had 30 minutes of time total to get to classes every day. And 30 minutes for lunch. That meant we spent 6 hours in classes. Only 2 hours of that was spent actually learning. Then 2 hours of that was spent doing pointless busy work that pretty much was getting you to memorize what you just learned so you can pass a test. The last 2 hours went to you being bored and having nothing to do or messing around in class. By senior year you only needed 2-3 classes to graduate but they required you to have a full schedule. So that was just adding on to the wasted time. I just took a bunch of electives and a math class they put me in halfway through the first semester. There was a class that they put a bunch of seniors in. It was ACT prep or something like that. It was pointless because we all took the ACT our junior year and they had us applying for colleges full senior year. ACT tests weren't taking place again until after we all applied. Then on top of that the classes made it as easy as possible to pass them so the school didn't look bad. The weighted grading system was ridiculous. I had a lot of fun in high school. But it was so pointless to even go half the time. Boredom. The bullshit shitty teachers put you through. Shitty teachers were the worst. It is a bit tricky to explain unless one's experienced the phenomenon. But at high school, I used to be perpetually baffled by most of the material we were studying. Personally, I would spend hours and hours of my time trying to make heads or tails of what we had covered in class. Once in college, when one studies mostly what they are interested in, everything is suddenly clear, making a lot of sense. Even though I do devote some time to self-education, so to speak. By no means is it necessary. Needless to say, I am not at all nostalgic about that. Idiot students who only cared about how expensive their clothes are. the newest phone they got, and how they're all rich because their parents were lazy enough to spoil them. Meanwhile, they are making fun of the nerds and the ones whose parents who were sensible enough to make sure their kids knew how hard it was to make money. Thank God most of them don't end up going post-secondary, or quickly dropped out after realizing that they are no longer a special snowflake. My guilty pleasure is looking back at their Facebook profiles every once in a while to see how ducked up their lives are now. Having to ask if I can perform normal bodily functions. Having no idea who I was as a person. And being surrounded by the constant idea that you had to already be preparing for your lifetime career and marriage. I tried posting my list, but it was so long it crashed Reddit's servers. Everything. I hated high school and I spent the majority of it alone. My early to mid 20s are going better. Duck everyone. Except Johnny. Johnny was dar man. The dress code. Well, it wasn't the dress code itself that was the problem, though it did have some dumb rules, but rather the fact that teachers could send you to the office for inappropriate dress even if your outfit was within the dress code. Like, there was a rule that sleeveless tops had to have straps too, or maybe 3. But I'm pretty sure it was 2, fingers thick. But if you were a girl. Anyway, I saw guys wearing these all the time, no problem. If you wore any sleeveless item, a teacher would send you to the office regardless of how thick the straps were. Another rule was that skirts had to reach your fingertips. But really, there were teachers who didn't like anything above the knee. I ended up not wearing anything other than t-shirts and jeans because it was too much of a hassle to move away from that without a teacher being stupid about it. Not having money really sucked too.